afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the midweek preview as we run you through 6 fixtures from across the EFL from Tuesday night and Wednesday night. I'm your host, Alfie Burns. Joining me are my 2 colleagues, Toby and Chris. First of all, Toby, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's really getting to that stage of the season now, isn't it? Where, the battles are heating up for promotion, playoffs, relegation, and there's just enough games left for every team to sort of have that risk of being overhauled or overhauling something else. So it just means that every game really does seem to matter at the minute, and that makes it really good for us when we're looking at some of these fixtures. Really interesting to get into the nitty-gritty of some of these games. Gonna be good fun over the next half hour or so.
Absolutely. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. Just echo what Toby said, really. The good games seem to be coming every few days now. So as a football fan, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So got an exciting few months ahead.
Yeah, we had West Brom 0, Blackburn 0 last night. We're hoping for a few more goals from the midweek fixtures, which we're going to discuss here. We're streaming across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter this afternoon. So if you are joining us, get yourselves in the comments. We want to hear from you, as we always do. Anyway, we're going to kick things off with the Championship. First up, so London derby then, Millwall versus Queen's Park Rangers tonight at the New Den. We'll start with Millwall. Gary Rowett's side are a little bit inconsistent in terms of their results recently, but they've been in good form at the Den. I think it's 7 points from the last 9 available in their 3 home fixtures recently. Toby, can they continue that tonight against a playoff chasing QPR side?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they are starting to look quite solid at home now, aren't they? I mean, in that time as well, I'm just looking at those 3 home results. They've only conceded the 1 goal in that run, and that was that late one to Cardiff on Saturday afternoon when they were already sort of seemingly in control of that game. So they're sort of they seem to be building a pretty useful foundation for themselves on home soil. And I think as well, obviously, we sort of saw, and I think we'll touch on it a bit more when we get on to QPR, the result that they had at the weekend. That's going to be one that's really put a bit of the pressure on QPR recently. And Millwall's probably not at the sort of place you want to be going to after a result like that, in terms of sort of the atmosphere and the pressure that they can really put on you. And they're as I say, they're a solid side, Millwall, and they will be looking to take advantage of this and really sort of ramp home the pain for a local rival and really do a bit of damage to their playoff hopes. I think obviously it seems as though Millwall might have suffered a bit of a blow with sort of the news this afternoon reports of an injury to Luke Freeman. So that's obviously a bit of a loss for them. But even so, as I say, I think they've got plenty there to hurt side like QPR. I sort of look back to that result at the start of that this 3-game unbeaten run at home, the 2-0 win over West Brom. And yes, West Brom aren't in the best of form at the minute, but they are still a side who have a really high calibre of player for this level, in my opinion. So that result can't be overlooked, even in regards to the Baggies' form. And that sort of shows that even against a playoff chasing side in QPR, and one who is maybe stumbling a bit after the events of the weekend, that Millwall can really sort of ramp up the pressure and maybe get another impressive 3 points on their own turf.
Yeah, I think I said a couple of shows back that I think that Millwall always fancy themselves at home, and they'll smell blood this evening with QPR slipping up against Barnsley. That was a bad result for Mark Warburton's side at the weekend, as it is. They're still in the playoff positions. Chris, what kind of reaction are we expecting from the Irish this evening?
Yeah, well, I think they need to produce a big performance, really, because we all know the Championship's unpredictable, but there won't have been many who saw that result coming at Oakwell. Barnsley obviously have been awful for quite a long time now, and QPR, perhaps the most worrying aspect was the fact that they probably did deserve to lose on the day. I think Barnsley had more shots on target, and it's out of character really for Warburton's side. They've been pretty consistent and hard to beat for quite a while, so that will be a concern, and it's how you react, because if they do bounce back with a win or even a good performance and get a point tonight, you can kind of brush it off as a bad day at the office. But if they do lose again tonight, you start asking questions and they'll be definitely looking over their shoulder, whereas if they'd have won at the weekend, they could be looking for the top 2 places. So it's a very big performance and they do need to react. I'd expect the manager to make quite a few changes, because he's got a decent squad. I think you could see like Johansson, Austin, Adoma probably come into the 11, and that will freshen it up. But yeah, it's a big game for them, just more about the mentality of the group as much as anything.
Absolutely. A lot of pressure on QPR tonight. Let's get some predictions then for Millwall versus QPR. Chris, up first.
I think it'll be a tight game. It's obviously tough going to the Den. I'll go for 1-1.
And what about you, Toby?
Yeah, I was going to go exactly the same there, but I'll mix it up and now to keep it interesting. I'll back what I was saying about Millwall's home chances. So I'll go 2-1 Millwall in that case.
Elsewhere in the Championship tonight, we've got Sheffield United versus Hull City at Bramall Lane. This is a big chance for Paul Heckingbottom's Sheffield United side. With a victory, a convincing victory, it has to be, they could move into the top 6 on goal difference. Toby, do you think that they need to make a little bit of a statement tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a bit of an opportunity for them. They've been on an excellent run at the minute, and then they were probably a bit frustrated just with a goalless draw at Huddersfield at the weekend. You know, they might have up against another side in that playoff mix really been wanting to put down a marker by taking all 3 points there. Ultimately, that didn't happen, but obviously they've still got the games in hand and the overall form that suggests they are on their way to a top 6 place, and with that in mind, you know that this is a game that they really should be winning against a Hull team, and we're really starting to stutter a bit again after a really positive start in the wake of the takeover. So there's certainly an opportunity there for Sheffield United, and I think there will be favourites to win here, and if they are going to push on and get back into the top 6, then these are the sorts of games that they should be winning, and you would say that they have the ability to do that in their side. They're really starting to settle now under Paul Heckingbottom with the system that he's got them playing. So yeah, I do think this is one that they will be expected to win, and obviously in front of their home crowd as well. That gives them that lift that could be important here. So yeah, I would be expecting a win for the Blades.
As for Hull, then, they're down in 19th at the minute, and they've got a nice little buffer between themselves and the bottom 3. But as Toby's just touched on there, you know, form's not been great for the Tigers recently, and they've lost 3 games on the spin. They're facing an in-form Sheffield United side who are eyeing the playoffs. Chris, how are you expecting Hull to approach this, given Sheffield United's recent form and how solid they've been defensively?
Well, I think Hull now they'll be in for a very tough game, as you mentioned, with the Blades form. It's probably one of the toughest games in the league you could get at the minute. So, yeah, I think Hull, they've come off the back of playing Fulham, so it might be a similar style in terms of the setup, maybe trying to soak up pressure and hit them on the break, but they've got some quick plays in the final third. So, but yeah, it's a tough game, and I think for Hull, they've probably already got one eye on next season. They did do a bit of business late in January, which should have helped the team, or should help the team in the coming months. But yeah, the reality is it's all Avaladze needs to be looking at next season. He's to be working out which players are going to come with him, and because I'd expect major changes in the summer. So yeah, this is because of that cushion that Grant McCann obviously deserves a lot of credit for with the results he picked up before he left. Don't really have to be worrying about relegation. So it's a case of seeing which players can be part of the plans and what they can do moving forward. And a game like this at Bramall Lane is a big test because you're playing against some quality players, and it'll be a good marker for Avaladze to see where his team are at, which he'll be doing for the next few months as well.
Absolutely. Let's get some predictions then. Toby?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Sheffield United on this one. As I say, I mean, I don't think it'll be the biggest of wins. You know, you look at that sort of run that the Blades have been on at the minute. They're not high scorers, but they don't seem to concede either. So I'll go for 2-0 Sheffield United.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, again, another home win. I'll go 1-0. It won't be easy, but they should have enough quality.
Moving over to tomorrow then, an absolutely huge game at the bottom of the Championship between Peterborough in 22nd and Reading in 21st. Toby, this is a relegation 6-pointer if there ever was one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 teams who badly need a win, and I mean, I both sides go into this well aware of the fact that whoever loses is going to be in the relegation zone. Obviously, for Peterborough, it's a massive opportunity for them to sort of really climb out of that bottom 3. Reading, you feel like it's almost with the way they've been performing recently, albeit the points deduction comes into it as well. It's really more been the form of the likes of Peterborough behind them that have kept Reading out of the relegation zone rather than anything that the Royals themselves are doing at the minute. So that just really makes it's going to be an absolutely fascinating game to see how these two set up, how who can get the points from it. And I think Peterborough, obviously, we sort of saw they took a bit of a beating against Cardiff in sort of another, to an extent, a relegation 6-pointer, albeit Cardiff aren't under quite as much threat as Reading. So, there'll be maybe a few concerns there for Posh, although the fact that they managed to sort of frustrate Preston for a while might give them a bit more confidence. As for Reading, it's a really sort of tough assignment for them at the minute. They can't seem to get a win from anywhere. And as Harry just mentioned on the comment you pulled up there, it is really starting to become quite a toxic atmosphere at Reading with the frustrations around the manager and the ownership, which you can understand with the way things are going there, but it won't be helping the players. And in that sense, the fact that they are away here could even be a bit of a help for them in terms of, the fact that it's sort of that distraction isn't there quite as much as it would be when the home fans are there making their feelings known quite as vociferously as they were at the weekend.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's plenty of unrest in the Reading camp at the minute. The supporters pulling in a completely different direction to the club. That means, for Peterborough, Chris, this is a really big opportunity tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think they've got Derby on Saturday as well, or on the weekend. So these two games are going to, well, you won't say they'll keep them up if they do win, but if they lose them both, you'd say they're in massive trouble. So, yeah, it really is a massive few days coming up for the Posh, and they've got to see this as a win. Like Reading, we expected the manager to have been sacked, in all honesty, in the last few days. It hasn't happened since that Coventry defeat. So there's still a lot of noise coming out of the club of players turning on the manager. You mentioned the fans. So they are a club in disarray at the minute, and this is the perfect time to play them. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity for Peterborough, and then they'll look to build on that at Derby. But obviously, first eyes on Reading. They've still got a good team, Reading, so it's not like it's going to be easy by any means. But if you wanted to play a team right now, it is Reading.
Let's get some predictions then. Chris, up first.
I'll go for Peterborough to edge it 2-1.
And what about you, Toby?
Yeah, I'm just slightly edging towards Peterborough here, 1-0.
League One up next then, and we're going to start with Wigan Athletic, who host CREWE this evening. Toby, you're going to be there at the game. This is one of Wigan's games in hand that we've been talking about on show after show, and how they can sort of move away and take a hold on that second spot in the League One table. There's not really any excuses not to get 3 points tonight, given that, is there?
No, there shouldn't be when you sort of look at where these two sides are at either end of the table. I mean, it was, let's be fair, it was a huge win for Wigan on Saturday after 4 games without a win in all competitions to pick up 3 points and really just sort of get that monkey off the back before it really snowballs into a serious run that might have put their place in the top 2 under threat, and doing it against a solid, strong Charlton team who actually took the lead in that game. Showing that resilience to come back and get the win. That's what you need to do if you're going to get promotion this season. I think the fact that Will Keane came back in from injury and got on the score sheet even from the penalty spot, that's a huge relief given how important he's been for them as top scorer this season. Stephen Humphreys as well with the winner. It was a bit of a slow start to his time at Wigan after that summer move from Rochdale, but he's starting to find a few more goals now. So that's really important, showing that they have got other players other than the likes of Keane and Callum Lang who can really chip in for them in front of goal. And I think you look at CREWE and their result at the weekend. They took a beating at Accrington in this part of the world just a few days ago. So when you look at that and then consider where Wigan are, this really feels like a game that they have to take all 3 points from. And as you say, with this being one of many games in hand, this is one of those opportunities that Wigan will come into this game well aware of the fact that it is the chance that has been laid out in front of them to really make one of these automatic promotion spots their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Wigan sitting second in the table at the minute. CREWE a second, bottom level on points with Doncaster at the foot of the table, which means that they're 9 points adrift of safety. I was listening to the comments of a few CREWE fans earlier today, and the pressure's sort of building from the fan base on Hartle at the minute. it's going to be difficult for him to pull a result from up his sleeve this evening, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, you can't really see anything other than a home win. As Toby mentioned, the CREWE lost 4-1 to Accrington last time out, and it was Plymouth the game before by the same scoreline. So they're not just in bad form; they're in terrible form. They're conceding too many chances, and they're going to a Wigan side who just are very, very strong at this level. So yeah, they are already looking as though they need a bit of a miracle, but I suppose they can take some encouragement from the way people have written Gillingham off until Neil Harris comes in. I think he's picked up 7 points in 4 games, so that just shows it can be one result to trigger a little mini resurgence. And then if you do get back-to-back wins or get a surprise results here and there, you can close the gap and put pressure on the sides above. But that's what CREWE need, and you can't see it coming against anyone, to be honest, but definitely not against a Wigan side that they're pretty, like, they're a strong outfit at this level. They've got a lot of experienced players, and obviously promotions inside, so you'd expect a pretty comfortable home win.
Let's get some predictions then. Toby, you up first?
Yeah, as I say, with the form that these two sides are in, and sort of the kickstart almost to an extent that Wigan had at the weekend, I can't really see beyond them, so I'll go 3-0 Wigan.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'll go 2-0 straightforward. Yeah.
Moving on to tomorrow then, Sheffield Wednesday versus Accrington Stanley. Sheffield Wednesday sitting 8th in the table and Stanley down in 12th at this moment in time. We'll start with the Owls. They lost 2-0 to Rotherham in front of the Sky Sports cameras on Sunday, but with a better side in that South Yorkshire derby, and lost out to 2 set-piece goals in the second half. Chris, are we expecting Sheffield Wednesday to react to that and sort of put that result behind them, given how well they played?
Yeah, I think obviously if Sheffield Wednesday lose games in League One, it's never a good thing. But there was a lot of encouragement they could take from that game because, as you said, they were the better team. They did create chances, and it was poor finishing and a bit of bad luck at key moments that saw them lose the game. Obviously, they have themselves to blame in terms of conceding from set pieces, but on the whole, they played a very good Rotherham side at this level, and they were the better side. So yeah, they've turned the corner in recent weeks under Moore, and I think there's always expectancy with Wednesday in League One. So any result can become like you can overreact, but really they are going to lose games. That's what's going to happen. So as long as they are playing well and on the right track, then you can just go on to the next one, because as we've mentioned, the games come thick and fast. So yeah, this is a good chance for them. I think they'll be pleased to be playing straight away to try and get it out of the system and get a win back on the board. And yeah, I think they'll fancy their chances in this one, because the players are playing well and they look quite settled at the minute.
Yeah, of course, they're in very good form at Hillsborough, barring that result against Rotherham. As for Accrington, Toby, you sort of mentioned earlier about their sort of routine win over CREWE at the weekend. Just a little bit further back than that, they turned over Oxford, one of the clubs rivaling Sheffield Wednesday, for the playoff place this season. Can they repeat that trick here at Hillsborough?
I think it'll be tough for them. I mean, don't get me wrong; they're going to come into this one with a lot of confidence off the back of some of those recent results. And I mean, you do have to give them credit for the way that over the past few years they've really sort of, against probably a lot of expectations, not just established themselves in League One, but sort of really taken a lot of scalps deservedly during the time in this division. So there's no reason why they couldn't do that again here. But I do think this will be a tricky one for them to get. I mean, not only with the sort of form that Sheffield Wednesday are in at their own ground in Hillsborough, but Accrington have found wins harder to come by on the road than they have on their own turf themselves this season. It's only 3 away wins in 14 away league games this season. So, it's going to be tricky for them to sort of turn that around against a side in such strong home form as Sheffield Wednesday. And you would think the message for the Owls has been, look, that against a Rotherham side in the sort of form they are in, that can happen to anyone. So there you wouldn't think will be being allowed to dwell on this by Darren Moore at Sheffield Wednesday. So I just think that will make this a really difficult assignment for Accrington.
All right, let's get some predictions then. Toby up first. Are we expecting Sheffield Wednesday to bounce back?
Yeah, just about. I mean, I do think Accrington, as I say, I've got the quality to give teams such as Wednesday a really tough time in this division. And so I don't think it'll be easy for the Owls, but I think they might just get a win here 2-1.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. It's the same. I think it's going to be a good game, a close game, but Wednesday we'll go 1-0.
Yes, absolutely. A good game to watch tomorrow night in League One. Finally, moving on to League Two then, we're going to discuss Hartlepool versus Tranmere. We'll start with Hartlepool, who've turned over Barrow and Crawley in their last two fixtures. Chris, Hartlepool are going to be full of confidence heading into this game, even though they're coming up against a side sitting second in the table, aren't they?
Yeah, and those were wins that they needed. They'd have been one of the several sides who were looking over their shoulder a bit nervously. So you always want those wins to give you more of a cushion, and they've come at just the right time. And they've been quite hard to beat. Those wins they'll be like a sigh of relief. But then you want to kick on, don't you? Even now they'll have one eye going. Like next step will be trying to get to the top half, because they're only 3 points away, I think. So it's one of them. League Two is a really tight division, and as you mentioned, no one really does fear anyone down there. Forest Green have been the standout team, but other than that, everyone can get results against anyone. So yeah, this is a game that they'll be looking forward to it. They'll be expecting that they can cause Tranmere trouble, especially at home.
Yeah, anybody can get results against anybody, as Tranmere know. They lost to then managerless Walsall 1-0 at the weekend, which was an absolute shock result. Toby, what kind of reaction are we expecting from Tranmere?
Yeah, you would expect a positive reaction from Tranmere, wouldn't you? I mean, if they are really going to be serious about winning promotion this season, then they do have to react quickly to that. And I think you would probably expect them to do so. I mean, that defeat to Walsall and ended a run of just one defeat in 10 before that, and that was as the league leaders Forest Green, who, as Chris said, have just been sort of on another level to most of the teams in League Two this season. So, if they respond quickly, as you would expect them to, then that Walsall result can very much be put down to an isolated incident that can happen and does happen to most teams at some point during the season. So I think there's definitely going to be pressure on Tranmere to sort of react quickly to that, and you would expect them to do so if they do have hopes of getting back to League One this season. I mean, obviously they were bitten by the playoffs last season, so they're going to be absolutely determined to avoid that again this time around, and this really just gives them an opportunity to still keep some daylight between themselves and the playoffs. So you think they're going to be right up for this, and given Hartlepool are a team who was sort of in mid-table a bit, it's going to be a long shot for them to either make the playoffs or get dragged into that relegation battle. You would imagine that Tranmere will be sort of fancying their chances here of getting 3 points to get back on track.
Absolutely. Let's get some predictions then. Chris, you up first.
I think Hartlepool have been quite good at home, and Tranmere a bit hit and miss away. So I think I might go Hartlepool 2-1 here.
And what about you, Toby?
I'll go the other way. I'll say Tranmere to get a response here, because I think the pressure's on them a lot to do that, and I think they might just be able to respond. So I'll say 1-0 Tranmere.
That concludes this afternoon's midweek preview. Thanks to Chris and Toby for joining me, and anybody that's joined us in the comments. It's always great to hear from you. Not packed schedule, but a busy schedule right across the EFL. So enjoy the midweek fixtures, and we'll see you again soon.